Hey everyone, it's Matt once again with another episode number 5 of Two Noobs Talking with my friend John. John, how you doing, man? What's going on?
What's up, man? How are you?
Oh,
I'm
just doing
getting
great.
ready to
Yeah.
talk.
Yeah. Once again, we find ourselves doing this. It's just such a pleasure doing this with you, and we've got a lot, of course, on the docket as well. We've got everything from another World War II story, another soldier, and COVID talk, of course. But then we're transitioning to some people that we found um, just have been making such tremendous strides, not only in our culture previously, but currently as well. So we'll touch base on all that. But why don't we just launch into your story that you found that is just unbelievable. I keep thinking about the World War II generation, and oh my gosh, they're freaking superheroes, man.
Look, absolutely. So what I got here, what we unearthed, little Fox News article of a 96-year-old veteran who wanted to be, as it says, aims to be a Marine to run in the marathon. So we did a little bit more digging. So we got a little bit of story here. So we got this man, we'll call him Fred. Uh, Harvey here. He fought in the Battle of Iwo Jima. Sorry, I messed that up. I
That's
totally
all right.
correct. He wanted to participate, or he wanted to participate in this race, and he's got some backing with a few people, which is awesome. So this guy, Dr. Glenn Page, befriended him a couple years ago, and they talk every week, as it says down here. The two talk every week since they met.
Well, luckily,
And
I'll just interrupt you there, John. Luckily, they don't have a Two Noobs Talking podcast, right? I mean, for crying out loud.
exactly. So what the plan was before the pandemic was that they were going to run this 26.2 mile marathon and make him, this is Fred Harvey, make him the oldest Marine to cross the finish line using a custom commemorative wheelchair, which will be used for future disabled veterans in this race, which is just in itself awesome. So we got two really good stories.
Yeah.
If we go down here a little bit, you can see this wonderful picture of Dr. Page and Fred.
Yeah.
This team raised $5,000 to build this special chair, and they decorated it with pictures and his war medals. But due to the coronavirus pandemic, this marathon went virtual. So what happened is that Harvey raced this with his friends in Fredericksburg, Texas, and they finished at the National Museum of the Pacific War.
Yeah.
So he did do it. It was a little different than they planned to do it, but they have, in the future, they have this already planned out to do this over and over again, which I think is amazing. I'm going to get us back on screen.
Yep.
I just think it's an amazing story of just people coming together and putting, because what else? What else? Like,
what else can't they do?
Exactly.
That entire generation. My God. I mean, it's just like they are the Captain America, of our generation. They live so long. They have seen so much. I mean, we'll have a story a little bit later on of like a mathematician, Katherine Johnson, that worked at NASA, who was 101, who died. But I mean, we'll touch base on that a little bit later in this podcast. But just the fact that Fred wanted to do this marathon, the oldest living Marine Corps marathon in the history, and he befriends this doctor. They have a great friendship. They talk every week for 4 straight. I mean, and the fact that I served in Iwo Jima, that was a major Pacific theater war. I mean, that was a turning point in that entire war. And he was there and he fought there, survived the battle, comes back home, and builds. I mean, it's just an amazing. Like, I keep thinking about the World War II generation and the sacrifices that they've made, and that some of them have lived to being close to 100 years old. It's just utterly remarkable. Yeah. We're going to miss these people, John, when they eventually pass. That's going to be a sad day in our country, because it's like they stood up against totalitarianism, evil, and I mean, they spat in the face of Adolf Hitler. They spat in the face of a totalitarian regime in Japan. They confronted Italy. I mean, they did so much for our country, and they came out on the winning side. Thankfully, they did.
Yes, it could be a whole different world. Amazing to me of the whole story. Yes, absolutely, Mr. Fred Harvey. Totally,
Yeah.
he's the top of the chain, is what I'm trying to say. But just the people around him that were willing to help him.
Yeah.
Get to just to do this, like the one last stand. But you know what I mean? Like, thank you for it's what I want to promote in this world. Thank you for your service. What can I do for you?
Yeah.
It's not thank you for your service. What can you do for me? You already did something for me.
So much. Yeah.
You give me freedom. Everybody that fights for this country gives me the freedoms to say what I want, do what I want,
do this
how I want.
Mm-hmm.
And to all veterans, always, what can I do for you?
Yeah. Just thinking about that.
That's what I want to see America. That's what I pray that America can get back to, because what can we do for you?
Yeah.
Because you already did
so much for us.
Any better. You already did a lifelong service because you did something to make sure that someone didn't come into our country and take our rights away. Yeah. And that is, I'm very appreciative of that every day. Absolutely. It doesn't fall short on me.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it just goes to show you, like this last week, of course, we celebrated Veterans Day. And, if anyone that follows me on my Facebook page, I had a nice little video about that and gave thanks to my own father for his service in the country. We're going to have him on a separate podcast down the road. We're going to interview him.
It's going to be amazing.
That kind of thing, which is going to be great. We're looking forward to that. But yeah, it's like, I think, John, again, your point's so well taken, because it's like, I saw it was a really good cartoon of like people that were thanking those veterans that were well. Hey, thank you so much for your service. And, oh, that's great. And yet we also have the veterans that are suffering. And it's like, they're sitting here and they're homeless and they're sitting. The idea is, no, they served us too. They went to battle for us. And it's up for our generation to not only thank those that are well, but those that aren't well, to get the help that they need so that they can also too become productive members of society and help us continue to grow as a nation, to be better, and that kind of thing. So, and there are organizations that are doing that, don't get me wrong, but we shouldn't discount those because they're not well. Oh, we're going to just put them over here. No. We have to be able to bring those people in as well and get them the help they need. I'll also mention this too, before we move on, John. The city of Philadelphia, and my dad has had the opportunity to do this. They've had, prior to the pandemic, last 5 years, they did a march down, essentially all the way straight down Independence Hall, a parade of all the different types of veterans organizations that help veterans, and those that you had a couple of, it was a marching band, a couple of marching bands here and there, but they would be basically to promote, hey, if you're coming back from being deployed and you're retired and you're honorably discharged from the military, there are organizations that can help you if you ever need it. And they would always do it around Veterans Day. My dad had the opportunity to color commentate that particular parade over the last 5 years prior to the pandemic. Obviously not doing it this year, but I mean, that's just in and of itself was great. In the city of Philadelphia, there was a parade right down, I forget, it's not Market Street, but it's just outside of Independence Hall. And so you had that coming through, and you had the parachute. It was great. I mean, it was just wonderful to see. Yeah.
That's a key. Let me just, before we finish this up, let me just say one thing. That's something that I didn't know about.
Yeah.
And that's to see that where we need to bring awareness, we need to do a better job. I honestly think that everybody, if you live in America, you are a citizen, even if you're not a citizen and you want to be a citizen, you're becoming a citizen. Mm-hmm. All that doesn't matter, because once you're a citizen, you're a citizen. Like, this is the way America works. But we need to look better at our military to know these things, because you got an extra $10, $12, right?
Mm-hmm.
You could throw to this one thing that might help build a house for someone that fought in a war.
Yeah.
Like, isn't that weighs on me probably so much more than it should. But just like seeing stuff like the Warrior Project and the fact that I could give just a little bit of change out of my pocket.
Absolutely.
Nothing major, but yet people can make something of it.
Absolutely.
And give back. Which is the whole thing of our podcast.
Absolutely.
I don't want to let's get into some laughable COVID stuff. It's not all laughable, but
it might be. I don't know.
Laugh through it.
Yeah. No, that's really well said, John. Thank you. But yeah, let's talk COVID. Obviously we've had a recent increase in confirmed cases, and of course my gosh, the machine rolls on, and it's kind of just like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? It's the second wave and all this kind of stuff. And, John and I were texting this week, and we both were kind of just, I think, on the one hand, not surprised by the media reaction.
And very mad.
And very bad. But this is, I think, why we really we stopped to think about like, okay, why is there so much panic over this confirmed case count, that kind of thing. And we really wanted to take a stop to think about a pandemic is when you have a virus in place, you don't have a cure for it. And so there's going to be deaths and all that kind of stuff. And probably the most famous pandemic was back in 1918 to 1920. There was an influenza pandemic, I guess, commonly known as the Spanish flu. But it was a very deadly pandemic. And I'm just going to go ahead and just share essentially from the CDC website here. You've got an estimated 1/3, this is direct from the CDC website, an estimated 1/3 of the world's population back in 1918. So you're talking approximately 500 million people were infected with this influenza disease and had clinically apparent illnesses during the 1918-1919 influenza pandemic. This disease was exceptionally severe. Case fatality rates were greater than 2.5% worldwide.
Wow.
Stop to think about just that, 2.5%. So chances are, if you were going to get this, you were not going to survive this. It was not good. Compared to other influenza pandemics, it was less than 0.1%. So total estimate deaths were estimated at approximately 50 million people, arguably as high as 100 million people, again, worldwide. In the United States, we had about 675,000 of that 100 million, approximately, that suffered and died from this disease. And they had it was everything, the high temperatures, the fever, the sweats, everything. So it got John and me thinking about, we live in different counties. I live in just outside of Philadelphia, a place called Chester County. John, I think you're just outside Dallas, right? If I'm not mistaken?
San Antonio.
San Antonio, Texas. So you're in Hayes County, Texas. So we each took a look at our own COVID-19 dashboards. All of our counties have this, I think, and every one, I would imagine, in the United States has some sort of COVID-19 dashboard. So here is what the COVID dashboard looks like in Chester County, again, just outside of Philadelphia. Chester County has about 500,000 people currently living in it. In 2019, the census was about 500,000. As of right now, this is as of November 13th, so this is as of the other couple of days ago, the number of positive cases cumulatively that we've had since we started tracking this was in March, was 9,427 people have had a confirmation of positive test. That equates to a positive rate of 1.7%. So again, you're taking 9,427, dividing that into 530,000. The number of deaths, the number of people that have died are 384. If you take 384 and divide that into 530,000, you're looking at a death rate or infection fatality rate of 0.07%. If we look at Hayes County, again, just outside of San Antonio, where John lives, you have, and John, your county, we found on the census was about 230,000 people.
Yes.
So you have basically a negative test of about 41,000 people, which equates to about 18% negative. Positive, 6,616 people as of March. That's 2.8% positive. But you only have had 91 fatalities, and that equates to a 0.03% infection fatality rate.
And can I just interject real quick?
Go for it.
County is separated by farms. It's between Austin and San Antonio. Mm-hmm. It's a huge lot of a county. Like it's a big, like I see in and out, like going in and out. Hayes County's here. Hayes County, like it goes down to Wimberley. It's over here. It's over there. Like it's huge.
Yeah.
But people are more spread out.
Yep.
Especially in Texas, people are more spread out. So the one thing that I see is the more spread out you are, the better off you are.
Exactly. Now so this begs the question. Okay, so now because Chester County, you start to see it's more suburban. It's away from an urban population center. And so it's starting to spread out a little bit further and further apart, obviously. The biggest thing that John and I really focused on was the infection fatality rate. Now, currently in the United States, the infection fatality rate is low. It's not necessarily huge. If you look across the entire world, though, the infection fatality rate is at 0.1%. It's not near the infection fatality rate of what it was in the 1918 pandemic. Again, 1918 pandemic had a 2.5% or greater infection fatality rate. It's a lot of numbers, but in this current pandemic that we have now, we're looking anywhere between 0.03% to 0.1%. Now, the frustration that I think John and I both have is the fact that we're not epidemiologists, but we love numbers. The media right now is trying to push, oh my God, there's so many millions of confirmed cases. You're going to get COVID. That narrative is false, to be perfectly honest. John, feel free to disagree.
No, absolutely. Real quick, you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
The thing that Matt was talking about, I just want to give you one number, talking about you said it was 0.1% fatality rate in the world. Mm-hmm. The world consists of 7.8 billion people.
Yeah.
So 0.1% is like not any life lost is terrible.
Absolutely.
In any case.
Absolutely.
Just not COVID. Like COVID's not the new murderer of everything. Like anytime someone does not get to wake up the next day, it's awful. Mm-hmm. Like, that's not the narrative we're trying to push.
Exactly.
But when you're talking numbers of 0.1% of 7.8 billion people, excuse me for the Freudian slip, billion.
Yeah.
If I had $7.8 billion and someone stole 1%, I wouldn't cry.
You'd be ticked, but
it's you get what I know I'm a little brash with that kind of stuff, but numbers. I'm really I do. But thinking about that, it's not companies have survived money wise, being worth $7.8 billion and losing 0.1%.
Exactly.
Walmart, by the way, loses 6% off of, you can fact check me, I don't know if I'm right, but they make about those in numbers and they lose way more than, so yes, every life is important. Nobody wants to be sick. Everybody's afraid of being sick. This is the culture that we live in. Nobody even wants a cold.
Yeah.
I get that. But
right. This argument, though, and again, I point back to the fact that, we've had some politicians on both left and the right both saying, "Oh my God, the number of cases, the number of cases, the number of cases." And again, I think to your point, John, you're right on the money. It's like no one wants to be sick. No one wants to come down with this virus. It's terrible. It's a respiratory disease. There's no cure right now. Pfizer's made tremendous progress, of course, in the last week with the big announcement that they've had. Where I get the sense is the overall anxiousness, and I've talked about it with friends outside of this podcast, of course, like at work, outside in a church, and whatever the case may be, you can feel the anxiousness, and it's because of the number. They don't want to be infected with it, and I understand it. But here's the deal, and this is what I want to make things very, very clear. If you get it, you have a 99.99% chance of surviving this disease. It is not a death sentence. That is the key point in this. If you get it, and we've talked about this on our podcast, if you get it, your immune system is strong enough to fight it off, because we've been used to influenza or corona type like viruses in the past. That is such a key point. And I want to drive this home, because it's like the anxiousness and the fear, I understand, and I get it. I understand it. I'm sympathetic, and I'm definitely empathetic towards that. But it is not to put you in your home where, you've got the people from an ivory tower saying you've got to stay at home. You've got to cancel Thanksgiving. You've got to cancel Christmas. You don't want to have any of this. No, nonsense. The infection fatality rate of this disease, while it is a pandemic, is significantly low. And that's the point we both want to drive across. Again, John, I don't know what I have to say.
I don't know. You're absolutely right, and I don't feel I need to stop you. We could just let you go on for days and days and days.
That's true.
I'm just trying to lighten the mood up a little. No,
Yeah.
but that's the same thing. Like, just a personal thing. Like, we would love to go home for Christmas, but if it's not in the cards, guess what? It's not in the cards.
It's not in the cards.
Everybody's got to take their own health seriously.
Exactly. Yeah, and we're not. We're also not saying don't be cavalier with this disease. We're not saying, oh, you should go out and you should, breathe and cough on anybody and all that. No, we're not saying that. No, we're just basically just trying to counteract the argument that's being said when people are saying follow the science of this disease. No, because they're saying one thing: the number of confirmed cases, wear your damn mask, all the whole 9 yards. Well, we've been wearing masks since March. And all of a sudden now the cases are going up. So that kind of counteracts that argument. And that's not the point. The point is the infection fatality rate. And that's where I would want our politicians. I'm not holding my breath on this. I would want our politicians, I would want our media to talk more about the infection fatality rate of this disease as opposed to the number of confirmed cases and the death count. Because that is more, the infection fatality rate and being it so low is going to help people's mental health towards this. That's my whole argument on this entire thing. So, but in any event, I think we're going to move on.
Yes, we are. Sorry, I spilled something over here.
No, that's okay.
It's going to get a little weird for a minute.
This isn't a Two Noobs Talking podcast without something happening in the background.
Need a cleanup crew.
Exactly. But John, you've got a great story. Let's transition out of the COVID talk, because we could go on and on about it. And
oh God, it could last forever.
And it's like we've got better things to do. So let's talk about this female GM that was hired by the Miami Marlins.
Oh, absolutely. Let's
dive right into this, man.
Yeah, let's bring up her bio here. Sorry for leaving that story up there. There we go. Yeah. Let's meet this lovely lady. Kimberly Aang has spent a ton of time in baseball and actually had some success, like a ton of success. So her being the first GM is no surprise. Like, she's had a ton of success. She's been in it forever. I'd love to have, if I had her career, and been no, and this is an argument for gender and all that. Like if I had her career right at my age and then was just named for the first time, people would be like, yeah, he deserved it. This got media, but this is where we need to bring the media together because this should be an even bigger story.
Absolutely.
And I feel that 100%.
Absolutely.
Is it a big story? Yeah, Greenberg talked about it on ESPN. So yeah, I mean, it's getting proper media. But the reason I want to touch on this is something like this is a smart baseball mind, and it doesn't matter whether the gender doesn't matter. It's just awesome that she got to this point to break another ceiling.
Yeah.
And I'm really happy about that. Just to touch on the stuff that she did. She spent 6 years as the assistant director of baseball operations. So she already knew where she wanted to go with this. That's really good planning to get that job.
John, it just made me just realize she was part of the White Sox organization from 90 to 96. The White Sox made the American League Championship Series in 1993 against the Toronto Blue Jays. And the Blue Jays eventually faced the Phillies. So if you think about this woman had the White Sox with Frank Thomas and all that kind of stuff. She's the assistant director of baseball operations for an organization that made an American League Championship Series already in like the fourth year of her career there.
And she didn't stop.
Yeah.
The Yankees signed her, which we all know, assistant GM. Cashman was the GM at that time, right?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah. And then she's assistant GM and those 90s Yankees were a machine. They were an absolute machine back then.
She actually, if you look at it, if you just look at the years, because we don't even need to look at like her, I can just tell you, the assistant GM, she's probably the reason the Yankees got back so quick.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Well, even the Dodgers were in the playoffs in the aughts in the 2008s and 9s. And I mean, they're facing off against the Phillies. So she's like, and they're right there. They're right in the thick of the National League Championship.
I think the Marlins found a winner. I think we found a winner. This might be one of the best baseball minds out there.
Yeah.
And I paused for a minute to maybe the fact that it took this long is because she was a woman.
Yeah.
And that sucks.
Yeah.
Because we just did something really amazing. We're able to put her career together and actually look and get excited about it.
Yeah. Yeah. Sure.
What's the problem with Major League Baseball that it took you to 2020 to do something like that?
Yeah, exactly. Well, take a look also, too, in the beginning part of that career section there, John, in Wikipedia. If you look at that, in 95, she became the youngest person and the first woman to present a salary arbitration case in the major leagues regarding the pitcher of Alex Fernandez and won. I mean, that in and of itself, salary arbitration cases are no joke. They're tough.
It's kind of what we're dealing with now with the Supreme Courts and judgments of the presidential election. It's you got to present like law. Where did A, you know what I mean? Where A and B, like we have to come together.
Yeah.
That's what ruling it. And she's such an amazing story.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
I can't this is big. This is bigger than the news gave it.
Yeah.
And that's, as we keep going back to mainstream media, and I will call them out at all times. I don't care. I'll call out YouTube. I don't care. We post on YouTube, and I still don't care. I'll still call you out. What are you going to do?
Yeah, exactly.
I don't care. This should be the biggest story. This should be on the front page of the Post, the Inquirer, the Times, the Chicago Tribune. This should be the front page story everywhere in America, and it's not. And that's what's aggravating to me. You have a great baseball mind.
Mm-hmm.
That should be a story on ESPN, which it was.
Yeah.
And it's awesome. I'm glad ESPN covered it, because
Yeah.
if they didn't, I'd be all over them. But I'm just saying, this should be bigger,
Yeah.
because it took to 2020, really, it took to 2020 to get our first woman GM.
Yeah.
How many women GMs got passed up?
Yeah. Yeah.
How many?
It's a huge story. It's a huge story and a huge triumph too, I think, of baseball. We could make an argument all day of like, oh, okay, this should have been done 20 some odd years ago. And
Well, they're finally doing it
okay.
right. But let's not take that away from Kimberly.
Exactly. And her career, I mean, it's just phenomenal. The opportunities that have been presented to her, she's taken full advantage of them, which is just phenomenal, which is what you want to do as a human being. It's like if someone gives you an opportunity to take on all the different responsibilities, you want to go after it. You want to take it. And she has, and has been a tremendous success story. Could have been a 4-time world champion with those Yankees. I mean, I can't even, that organization, John, you know this as well as I do. We're both big baseball fans. Those 90s Yankees were ridiculously good. I mean, they were just, and that's an understatement. I mean, they were just phenomenal teams back then. Just from their talent level, not just their talent, but their homegrown. They were able to grow everything up. And the fact that she was their assistant general manager on that winning organization, it's just amazing. And then she goes to the Dodgers, and the Dodgers are like, they had a career renaissance under her. Really, they were kind of just languishing around a little bit.
Yeah,
2007, 8, 9, they're right alongside the Phillies, competing against them.
There's definitely a huge clip into what she was doing as a baseball mind in like just knowing baseball.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, she was a huge behind the scenes, which is now awesome that she's now out in front.
Yeah. Don't be surprised if in the next 4 to 5 years the Miami Marlins are contending for a championship with this woman behind.
Yeah, probably winning. It wouldn't shock me at all.
Yeah. It will not shock me at all either.
It would not shock me with her mind.
Yeah.
It's
great stuff.
Super excited.
Congrats to Kim. That was awesome. Thanks for sharing that, John. That was awesome. But let's keep the positive train going, man.
Yeah.
Let's take a look at not COVID stats, but let's take because we've had enough of those. But let's take a look at this. Katherine Johnson.
Yes.
So this was an amazing woman, and I have to give props to my aunt who posted this on her Facebook page. I just happened to see this on her page, and I'm glad she shared it because Katherine Johnson worked for NASA. She was an American mathematician, and basically, and I can't stress this enough, she handcrafted, essentially, or manually calculated, basically mastering complex manual calculations, and helped pioneer the use of computers to perform tasks to put people into space. So, okay, let's just take a step back. John and I both love numbers. We've demonstrated this on this own podcast. We love it, right? We have like basic understandings of addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. Got all those down, right? This woman basically, with complex mathematics, was able to essentially put people safely into space and put people safely on the moon, and then safely bring them back home from the moon with no use of computers. This was all done by hand. So Johnson's work included.
Me and Matt couldn't do.
Yeah, exactly.
At all.
I mean, as African American. So let's keep it going here. Johnson's work included calculating trajectories, launch windows, emergency return paths for both Project Mercury space flights, including those for Alan Shepard, who was the first American in space, John Glenn, who was the first American in orbit, and then rendezvous paths for both the Apollo lunar module and also the command module on the moon. And then she also helped out with the space shuttle. Oh, by the way, she helped out with the space shuttle program as well.
Yeah, because she could build space shuttles while also doing other stuff. Like, ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like, she might have been the smartest human ever, or pretty close to it. I mean, I'm sure they're. Well, we don't need to rank them because I'm not a part of that culture. But I'm just saying, like,
Yeah.
this is someone that Matt brought this up, and I was like, wow, I didn't
Yeah.
even know his name.
Yeah. Yeah.
And wow, like, just, I mean,
I can't even
like, I'm
into
not that smart.
words. Yeah, exactly. I can't even into words even think about like the complex science that goes into aeronautics, right? And just getting planes up off the ground. The fact that you have to go such a certain speed and then you get enough wind resistance to lift the plane off is an amazing amount of complex mathematics, because gravity is always pulling you down, right? We weren't designed to be in the air to begin with, but
Yes,
it took
but we figured it out.
someone did figure it out, exactly. And this woman not only took that concept of space, of flight. When you think about this, she was born in 1918.
Yeah.
And then, of course, like the Wright brothers, they invent their plane. So she must have thought growing up, like, I can't even imagine. You're thinking like 7, 8 years old, the airplane is being invented. Oh my gosh, how do you figure that out? And then she starts to figure this out, all these complex mathematics. It's just amazing. And then to be able to take that talent, right? And to say, okay, well, Kennedy makes his great speech. We're going to the moon, 1961, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she's the tip of the spear, John. She is the absolute tip of the spear, figuring out the complex formulas to take rockets from the plane and to be able to calculate, okay, here's where it needs to go. And it has to go this far. It's just remarkable. Just utterly, insanely remarkable.
I'm sorry for the lack of words, but like, just wow.
Yeah.
Like, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't even fathom all that at the exact same time. Like, it's like
and that's the thing, our minds, you and me, would think like, okay, well, the moon is straight this way. We've got to just go.
So if
we go that way, we know where it's go. We know where to go.
No, but that's not what.
That's not it. No, we would fail horribly, wrong. We would be horribly.
I mean, you can say, oh, well, I know how to get to the moon. Like, no, like the levels that she was working off of. And I'm really glad you brought her up, because that's funny, because we're super into NASA and we love spacecraft. We love stuff. And she is the beginning of that. She started that.
By hand, John.
And more people need to know this, because if you look at the mainstream media, just to kick them again, because I like kicking them.
Oh, yeah.
They're not telling you these stories. They're not bringing these stories to you.
If anything, the generation that's now growing up it's all about this, right? It's all about the iPhone. Yeah. Everything's all right here on your fingertips. You can pull up anything you want. Well, those types of devices, what goes to build into that device? That is what we're talking about here. And so with Katherine, with Mrs. Johnson, right? Because I'm gonna refer to her as Mrs. Johnson. No. She writes this out on legal paper. There's no such thing as a computer was starting to come into existence. Mm-hmm. The computer was like, it was these huge banks of steel boxes, essentially, and they would be like, a megabyte would be a huge box. Everything had to be done by hand. The fact that she was able to I can't imagine taking that talent and then to be able to figure out the formula to put John Glenn into space, Alan Shepard into space. It's just utterly remarkable. And then the space shuttle program. It's just utterly remarkable. And it's just wonderful.
Could do that. Yeah. If I could do that once, I'd be done. I'd be like, complete.
Retired.
Just once. If I could do that, I'd be like, all right, I'm good. I'm done. Yeah, I don't need to do anything else.
Yeah. It's remarkable.
Because you don't. And then she does it multiple times.
Yeah.
And then she's like, well, I'm just gonna help design the space shuttle, which we are going to jump on real quick.
Let's do it.
Space shuttle. Thank you very much for that.
Yeah.
Let's get rid of this and let's talk about going to the moon and Mars again. I'm gonna move you over here for a moment.
The legacy
Okay,
that's
so
been built with Catherine, or Mrs. Johnson, I should say.
yes, Mrs. John, this would not be happening. So
Exactly.
let's talk about now. Let's talk about, I love that it's the Jet Propulsion Laboratory,
Yeah.
California Institution of Technology, NASA. There are people really, really doing stuff.
Yeah.
Just show a couple pictures here. They're trying to go. We did in our previous episode talk about, we're going to the moon. Well, we're going a little further to the moon because they've got some plans here.
Hmm.
So they've developed Sherlock and Watson. Everybody that knows that should laugh
Yeah.
because it's investigative. And that's exactly what this rover is doing.
Exactly.
This rover took off a while ago. I don't have the date, but I know it's going to land in February 21 on Mars. Just to go through this real quick, not that we have to. What they're doing is they are looking for extraterrestrials or life forms
On Mars.
trying to figure out how this planet existed before this planet existed.
Mm-hmm.
Not what we know about it, but they're trying to go a little bit deeper in understanding, and that's why they're going to the moon. That's why it's called Moon to Mars.
Mm-hmm.
They're trying to really take what was going on in the early 2000s. I think they're going a little bit deeper now because what they learned, they're just going back.
Yeah.
I think if we go down here a little bit or a lot of bit, just
Yeah,
talk
there we
about
go.
the mission.
Mm-hmm.
The Perseverance is robotic scientist that weighs about 2,200 pounds. The rover's mission will to research signs of past microbial
Life. Yeah.
There you go. You can
Yeah.
see. You can speak better than me.
There you go.
Basically, it's gonna the climate, the geology. It's gonna take samples.
Pave the way. Yeah.
It's gonna bring enough back to where we can understand this planet tenfold.
Yeah.
Which is important. And like we were talking about the launch point, it took off, a little while ago.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to get there in 2021, which is the same time that we've talked about that they're going to start the Mars stuff.
Yep. The Artemis
And
project.
that's right. That's literally right here.
Yeah.
It's
Yep.
It's all together.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully from what they're explaining in this little thing down here is that once we get the moon figured out in the way that they want to figure it out, it's going to be easy just to orbit one to another.
Yeah.
So I think they're on to something. Is it crazy to think in this very short period of time that we could get to another planet? Humans could get to another planet? Yes. But the science, this is the thing we were talking about COVID. Mm-hmm. Following the good science
mm-hmm.
is leading to these miraculous things that are happening.
Yeah.
And to see, another moon landing and then seeing a Mars landing in our lifetime just blows my mind.
I mean, that's just got to be just unbelievable. And, it's like, I think about Mrs. Johnson, she's that foundation, again, going back to what she had done, manual, complex mathematical formulas to get a man up into space. And here we are, John, with this project and the Perseverance rover and all that kind of stuff. It's like, oh my gosh, can you just imagine if we're around, if you and I are both around when man will set foot on Mars? I mean, that's just going to be incredible.
And
the next planet over.
Something I want to put all our stories together because we were talking about the wonderful lady that became the general manager. This is something that we didn't talk about in the last podcast, and I really wanted to just bring it up right now. Is that when they go to the moon in 2024, that's the first female going to the moon.
Yeah.
So that's huge in its own right, is that we're bringing these things together and we are making these goals. Science is taking precedent outside of the pandemic, outside of the fear, we need to really look at like what is going, like we're making really good humane steps to a better world for everybody.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And that's my hope and my prayers for the future, is that we're growing and we're moving and equality is happening, you know, either racial equality or sexist equality. I think sexism is the dumbest thing I've ever heard of. Yeah. I'm just going to say, like, I don't understand. Like, my wife is just as good an athlete that I am. Mm. And I don't, like, you know what I mean? Like, she's an athlete, so am I. Like, when we go work out, it's not like, I'm a man, I could lift more than you. She's like, whatever, bro. Like, but that's my, you get what I mean? Like, I don't see those, like, I don't see those boundaries.
Well, it just goes to show you too, that it's like when you put your mind to something and you have a particular talent, you know, we go back to, you know, to Kim, and we go back to Mrs. Johnson, we go to all these scientists behind the scenes that are building these individual components, the talent that they're using, they're not just sitting around, you know, it's like they're called for a purpose, and this is what they're called to do. And the fact that they absolutely love it and they're so motivated behind it, you can see it in their writings. That coming from that NASA website, you could just say, yeah, we're going to go to moon in 2024. It's not an arrogance, it's a confidence. Yeah. It's an absolute confidence that we're going to go and we're going to do this thing. And then on top of that, it's like, we're going to continue to explore the red planet, make sure that's okay. And then, you know, we're planning it down the road. And it's just amazing. It's just remarkable people at NASA and NASA. It's just amazing.
It should revive the human spirit.
Yeah.
This is what they in '69 when they went to the moon.
Yeah.
This was the pride, and this is what we need to stop worrying about politics. Stop worrying about this. Bring it together instead of worrying about it.
Yeah.
Like the COVID, all that. Like, let's just bring a positive thing. If everybody is just positive all the time, we're overly positive.
Yeah.
But it's to counteract that negative that is happening. And
the media
get to a point of just enjoying.
Yeah.
It changes.
Enjoying the life. Yeah.
Enjoy your life and research these people and get a little deeper in the understanding that the world isn't so crass. Mm-hmm. It's full of people, and it was full of people that care and want to move forward. And that's a huge thing I want to say.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
It's important.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Couldn't agree more, man. Couldn't agree with you more. I think it's so well said. So that is our show. Episode number 5 in the can, John.
Oh, there we go.
It's just amazing. You know, we just continue to do this. So next week, John and I will be filming another podcast with a real good friend of ours, Tom Holzerman. And Tom we're going to break away from the news cycle and everything. We're going to be talking a little something that the WWE doesn't really like to talk about. We're going to talk a little pro wrestling. And Tom is one of our great friends. We've known him for almost 20 years. We've been in the same fantasy football league together with him. He's a cousin of Steve Murray, a good friend of ours as well. Tom is one of, like, we both kind of agree on this. Like, he's the best expert we know, talking a little bit of pro wrestling. So we're going to be talking WWE. We're going to be talking AEW. We're going to be talking probably some New Japan. We're going to be talking all kinds of Impact Wrestling. We're going to be talking everything. Yeah. I mean, we're going to just dive into his mind. How did we all become like wrestling fans? The beginning part of it, all that kinds of good stuff. So we're really looking forward to talking with him. We hope it finds it entertaining for all of you. We're on, of course, all the major social media channels. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter. We're on Instagram as well. So keep us. John, we're also on, what else are we on? Social media.
Well, our videos can be found on YouTube, of course, Bitchute, and Rumble. So you can look us up there. We post on our socials. We post on that. The show notes of the NASA will be on the YouTube because the others don't let us do that. But in case you want to follow the story, in case anybody cares about space as much as we do, we're gonna link all the NASA articles as much as we can, as much as we learn, because we're following this whole exploration of space probably more. I haven't seen it on any major news network, and that's a shame.
Yeah.
Just to be mean to them one more time before we get out of here.
Why not?
Yeah, why not? I'm good at it.
So that's where we're all at, man. And so we're so thankful that you're able to see us once again, and we're looking forward to talking to you again next week. And John, I think you have one more thing to say before we sign off and get on out of here.
Yes, Matt. Don't go down the rabbit hole.
I'll try not to, man. We'll talk to you all later.